Keyboard Exchange International.
Hi folks, I'm Jim Huss here at Keyboard Exchange with this guy,
Grant.
And Grant, I wanted you to be in this video because as I was testing this C3 number 518, I was struck by the fact that the clarity is really there. I start out with the first 4 drawbars and then I add 1 drawbar at a time to kind of demonstrate the tonality of the instrument. But every tone and every drawbar was just astoundingly clear and clean. So the work that you and Bill are doing back there in the electronic shop, I wanted to compliment you, ask you to continue on this pattern, because the every instrument we have here sounds great, but sometimes you run into something that's a little special. You know, what makes this organ special here? You know, it's like, I know you started out with a pile of parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. Do you remember the day you picked it up?
This one, I believe this one has GI caps. General Instrument is the manufacturer of the capacitors on the tone wheel generator.
Always makes a big difference.
So I think that's where we're getting that glassy clarity from.
Okay.
I noticed it right away when I first cranked it up after we got everything wired. I was like, wow, this is really clear.
I had forgotten about that. You
Yeah.
had told me that, but I've slipped my mind, so I'm glad you're explaining that. Yeah, and then of course you rebuild the preamp and you rebuild the Leslie amps and put new speakers in there and just do a ton of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I was explaining to you a little while ago, Grant, that I started out my musical endeavors in life joining a rock and roll band with my high school buddies.
Mm-hmm.
And did that for about a decade, and you did also.
Absolutely.
You were traveling around in Texas and places like that, going from nightclub to nightclub and living in the van, and you know, with your
Yeah.
your bandmates trying to make it in the world of rock and roll. You know, so we've traveled some similar paths. But as I got older, I found out an amazing discovery, which is, and this really kind of grabbed me by surprise, when people found out that I was in the Hammond organ business. They said, well, look, and you're coming to our church, why don't you bring a Hammond organ in and join the praise team? Or maybe I went to them and said, I have a Hammond organ, I could bring it here and I'd love to be in your praise team. Anyway, I joined the praise team, and several things occurred to me. Number one was that the chord structure for contemporary Christian music is identical to popular music, rock and roll, etc.
Makes sense.
I mean, musical chords are musical chords, and even classical music, you know, I play canon in D because someone asked me to play that one time at their wedding, and I went to a church organist friend of mine, and I said, gee, I've never played that song, and I went and listened to it, and I realized, oh my gosh, that's a repetitive progression of 4 chords. So then I talked to this church organist, and he said, you know, you can play it any kind of, almost any way you feel. You know, play the melody, play the chords, but there's been hundreds of different arrangements of canon in D.
Yes.
And then on our Frozen Finger video, we did canon in C, because, you know, the gentleman that wrote the song, he wasn't going to complain about it, because that was like 300 or 400 years ago, right? So,
yeah.
At any rate, you can make beautiful music just using 3 or 4 chords. But for those of you in praise teams, talk to the worship leader and say, hey, let's get a real Hammond organ. These Hammond organs aren't just for playing hymns, but they can be used for that.
Sure.
And they're not just the most fabulous instrument in the world to back up a preacher for gospel music and to add punctuation to the sermon.
Yeah.
Yeah. These can be used to fill out the sound of a praise team. You've got to get bass guitar player, so that you don't have to play the bass pedals when you have a bass guitar player. And then you have guitar players and drummers and horns and singers and all that. But if you come in with the Hammond organ and just play simple chords, if you're just starting out on the organ and you can play chords like a rhythm guitar player who's singing and strumming, he's playing chords, he or she, playing a guitar, creating the rhythm with their strumming hand, playing the chords, singing the melody. Well, all that's going on, and when you come in with a Hammond organ and just play fat chords with getting your little finger to catch the octave so you can have 4 notes and 9 drawbars. So 4 times 9, I think it used to be like something like 36, right?
It used to be.
Yeah. So you're getting 36 additional tones with each chord, and then if you get tricky, and you can get a 9th by playing the lower root and then the next note up, the 2nd or the 9th, you can get 5 tones. So then you'd be adding 18, 9 or something more tones, because every drawbar has 8 settings. At any rate, maybe this is getting a little too detailed, but the Hammond organ in a praise team adds so much joy, sound, broadening. What's some other profound statements you could say in that, because I'm not getting as profound as you can get,
Well,
fatten it up, wall of sound.
Well, generally, when you have a keyboard instrument of any kind in the group, it tends to fill in a lot of things in the mid-range of the spectrum, of the audible spectrum, that most of the other instruments aren't playing, and they're not holding those notes if they are playing them at all. Guitars are generally doing things that are more rhythmic. Same with the bass player. Singers are backing up lead vocalists.
With harmonies?
Yes, with harmonies. Horn players are punctuating things on the chorus section and things like that. But you don't have somebody laying down all the stuff in the middle, showing you the chord qualities and extensions and things like that. I noticed that working as a sound man for years, you'd be mixing a band and you'd think to yourself, it sounds like 6 different guys, it doesn't sound like a band. And inevitably, that meant the keyboard was too low. If you bring up the keyboard player a little bit, suddenly everything fills in and you have a cohesive sound, and it elevates everything greatly to the listeners. And they don't know why. They don't realize that you turned up the piano or the organ or whatever it was. But the keyboard instruments, because you have your 10 fingers in such a wide range, you can go anywhere. If there's something missing in the upper mids, you can be playing in that area. And with the Hammond, it's even better because you can pull out some of the middle drawbars and things like that, where you get these funnier sounds. Keep it a little bit low with the expression pedal, and you can fill in all of these kind of dimly lit areas of the chords that are missing. And you'd be surprised. It really is amazing how much it adds.
Absolutely.
Having an organist.
And I love the word you use, cohesiveness. I'll have to try to use that in a sentence 3 or 4 times.
Cohesion is probably the correct word.
No,
cohesiveness.
I don't know. I think you said it perfectly. But Grant, one of my favorite moments in a praise team was one of the first times I played with a new group of people, and they introduced me, and I said hello to everybody, and then they said, okay, I'm going to count this off, and then we'll all come in together, and I knew the chords and everything. So the guy said 1, and I went, and everybody was shocked. They didn't know they didn't know how to respond to that. And I remember one friend of mine, a guitar player, said, "Hey, what's that? What's that?" and somebody had to explain to him, "Look, you still count the same way. Jim's just coming in with a little introduction that I love to do in a situation like that. It's like, what was it, kettle drums before the orchestra starts. Yeah. So here's my imitation of a kettle drum in an orchestra, and then I'm going to start playing a little bit. Okay? Yeah. Thank you for your input today. Start counting it off. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
for watching our video, and thank you also for helping keep the Hammond Tone Wheel B3 organ alive. We couldn't do all this work that we do here without you. And it would also help greatly if you could subscribe, like, ask for notifications for when we have new videos. That would be a big help for us. So we thank you once again. I'm signing off for now, but we will be back.